The countdown to the 2024 NFL Draft is underway as the Saints go after their next franchise stars. The stage is set in Detroit, but who will get to call New Orleans home? It all starts 7 o'clock tonight. Welcome into our New Orleans Saints Draft Preview Show alongside Ross Jackson of Locked On Saints, the Saints News Network, and WWL. I'm Erin Summers. We are looking forward to the draft in the Motor City. It is just hours away. We're going to break down the Saints' approach, their potential needs right here as we kick off the Saints' Path to the Draft presented by Cox. Now, the Saints usually like to pick best overall when it comes to their draft selections. However, General Manager Mickey Loomis did say Tuesday that there are still a lot of musts that they have to address, whether it is in the draft or in free agency. The Saints start with the 14th overall pick, so put on your GM hat, Ross. Who do you think they're going to go for?
Yeah, I think the two big names that stand out to me at their biggest need, which of course is offensive tackle, is certainly the way that we've been looking at it, are Penn State offensive lineman Olu Fashanu, as well as Oregon State offensive tackle Talisa Fuaga. Both of these guys are great fits on either side of the line. Fashanu is a little bit more of a career left tackle, while Fuaga is a little more of a career right tackle, but might have the versatility to be able to move over to either side. But the fact of the matter for both of these players is that they're plug-and-play starters on whichever side of the line that the New Orleans Saints seem that they want to address. And certainly with the sort of trend of where things have headed with Ryan Ramczyk's recovery, it feels like right tackle might take precedent. So I guess if I were on the board right now and the Saints were there at 14, I would have to go with Talisa Fuaga out of Oregon State.
We go into day 3, and the Saints don't have a pick again until the 5th round. They have a ton of picks on day 3. How do you think they're going to approach the amount of picks they have and their day 3 selections?
Yeah, I think with 4 selections in the 5th round and 7 selections in the last 3 rounds, I think it's very possible that we see the Saints mobilize a little bit here. Move up, target somebody in the 120, 100 type of area perhaps, maybe even leverage some of next year's draft capital to get up higher and into the top 100. Lots of different ways for them to go. And so I think you're looking at filling needs on the defensive line, maybe helping yourself out at tight end seems like a really likely selection there. And an even interior offensive line becomes a bit of the value is there to be able to address that too. So I would expect the Saints to be pretty aggressive here and then move around with all those compensatory selections they have in those later rounds.
Well, they like to move up, we know that.
They do love it.
General Manager Mickey Loomis talked about the types of players that they're looking for on day 3.
Well, I think on the third day of the draft, you're looking at players that can contribute in some way. Can this guy make our roster? Is he, or do we have so many guys at that position it's going to be really difficult for him to make the roster? That's the start. And then if he makes the roster, he's going to be active on game day. What's the contribution? And so those are more the discussions that don't happen in day 1 and day 2, because when you're picking in those earlier rounds, you're making an assumption that that guy's going to be on our roster. He is going to be on our roster. Those conversations are more about, hey, is he going to be our starter? And so when you get to the last day, it's more about, hey, what are the traits that allow this guy to make our team, first of all? And if he's not going to make our team, is this guy going to be on our practice squad and be able to develop? Does he have, the developmental traits that we're looking for?
The Saints were active in free agency this year, adding some depth at a number of positions: linebacker, wide receiver, quarterback, and then, of course, a big splash picking up defensive end Chase Young. There were several departures. With what the Saints were able to do in free agency, how do you think that will affect their approach to the draft?
Yeah, I think you've helped yourself a little bit by not necessarily having to go all in on your edge rusher position, which was another one of those kind of big sneaky needs coming into this draft. And so now you've mitigated yourself from having both offensive tackle and edge rusher as a need. I know there's still question marks around Chase Young's health, but I think if he's able to be out there week 1 and as many games as possible through week 18, that helps them a ton at one of the most important positions on the field.
It's going to be a lot of fun to see what else the Saints do in free agency, because Loomis said that they were potentially looking for more additions after the draft is over. But a big change for the Saints this offseason was on the staff. The offensive staff got an overhaul with the new offensive coordinator in Clint Kubiak, new quarterback coach, offensive line. How do having new people on your staff change the type of players that you're going after?
Yeah, I think it has a pretty major impact. I mean, it changes your offensive scheme. Part of the reason why they kind of flipped as much as they did over on the offensive side of the coaching staff was to bring in this new, what's considered a wide zone scheme, which is just a lot more of the outside runs, faster pace, a little bit more window dressing, motion before snaps, things like that. And so I think that ends up having an impact because you want to find the right players that are the right fit to be able to maximize your ability to be able to not only change your system, but acclimate to that system as quickly as possible.
Here is General Manager Mickey Loomis on how they're working together with the new staff and the way that the Saints have historically drafted.
Yeah, well, I think the process is still the same. I think we are maybe trying to think about it a little differently. We've got a couple people from that haven't been with us that are with us, through this process, and so I think we value their input, a little different view. Plus, the new coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball, they're all coming from, they're coming from different places and they have different perspectives, and that's just good to have an infusion of different ideas.
Speaking of how the Saints have historically drafted, let's take a look back at what they did in 2023. First round overall, number 29, they picked Brian Brzee, the defensive tackle. He has been phenomenal for the Saints, really hit the ground running at that position. Then you get into the defensive end, Isaiah Foskey, running back Kendre Miller, offensive line Nick Saldiveri, quarterback Jake Haener, safety Jordan Howden, and wide receiver A.T. Perry. A few players dealing with some injuries over the years, so we haven't gotten to see their full potential. What do you expect to see from them in year two?
Yeah, I think we're going to see pretty big steps forward for a couple of guys in particular over on the offensive side. We discussed that new offensive system that the Saints are bringing in. Kendre Miller, the running back out of TCU when he was drafted last year, it just kind of feels like that's the system that he's built for. He has that patience, that ability to kind of watch things develop in front of him, all that. And I think A.T. Perry as well. When you think about a guy that can break out in their second season, you're looking for momentum, and boy, did he have a lot of momentum at the end of the season. Lots of jump balls, finding his way into the end zone, all those other pieces. It's going to be interesting to see where maybe Nick Saldiveri gets an opportunity as well. It's a guy that the Saints traded all the way up to the first pick of day 3 to go and get, let you know that they really liked him. There might be an opening right now at left guard for the New Orleans Saints. Could Saldiveri be a guy to challenge for that?
Looking at the Saints, they love to move up in the draft. They have done it every single year, multiple times. The last time they moved down was 2007.
In a minute.
So we know what Loomis is looking to do generally. Let's check in with Loomis on his thoughts about possibly moving up, packaging some of those picks.
The way the draft is structured currently is that, we do the first round on Thursday, and then we have, the second and third on Friday, and so then, we have a whole evening, a whole day really to strategize about moving into the third and fourth round. And look, part of that depends upon who the players available. Do we really want to move up? And look, when you have 4/5, that gives us an opportunity to bump, take a couple of those and bump it up. But we won't be thinking about that until we know who the players are that are going to be available. Is there someone that we've got really graded high that has dropped down, and man, let's put a target on them and find a way to go get that player, because that's what we've done historically, even in some of the later rounds.
You can join the New Orleans Saints on day 3 of the draft for a watch party at Manning's. There will be special appearances by current and former Saints players, Saints mascots, and the Saints cheer crew. Guests in attendance will be able to watch the 2024 NFL Draft on multiple televisions at the event and enjoy a chalk talk featuring current and former Saints players like Devery Henderson, and I've heard even Archie Manning. All of the excitement is going to start very soon. I am looking forward to it. How much do you enjoy the draft?
Oh, this is my favorite part of the year. And it might sound a little cheesy, but I love the draft because I love watching people's dreams come true. And this is an opportunity to see that. I love the phone calls and seeing the reception and stuff like that, and then tracking these players to see wherever they head next. This is an incredible time of year. It's my absolute favorite.
I just can't wait to see who the next Saints players are going to be. We have had so much fun getting to know these rookies every year.
Yeah.
It's going to be here soon. We're going to see them on the field very quickly. So that's going to be exciting as well. Ross, where can we find your coverage throughout the draft?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find the Locked On Saints podcast free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and on YouTube as well. 30 minutes every day, help you get through your daily commute and give you the latest news on everything going on with the New Orleans Saints, analysis, opinions, and everything in there as well. The written work is over at Saints News Network. You can find it all in one place on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson Nola and OLA.
I'm still getting used to calling it X, but of course you can follow us at X on, I don't know, Twitter, whatever it is, at Saints, and NewOrleansSaints.com. We will have a post-draft show on Monday as well, so you can check out everything that the Saints did following the draft there. We're looking forward to it. Ross, thank you so much for joining us on today's draft preview show. Let's go Saints.